Going live. All right, let me make sure that we are live. We are, yay! And the just like a previous live that we've done on Zoom, it's just going to bounce back and forth with who's talking and all that stuff. So I know technology, right? All right, let's see. Got a couple people jumping on. I am going to be monitoring from like my phone and another window. So if you are here, jump in, say hi, ask questions, all the good stuff. So let's introduce Nicole. Nicole, tell us about yourself and what you run.
Hi, I'm Nicole Brookfield. I run Pacific Coast Floral Design. We're based out of Pacific City. So we do a lot of Oregon Coast events. And yeah, we just love Oregon and flowers.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this whole thing, creating these days for people?
Yeah, so I was an assistant floral designer for 2 years in Boston. So I've done both coasts now. And so I learned everything. I knew nothing about flowers at all a few years ago. And I learned everything I know from my old bosses. And then I moved out here and started my own company. And we're going into our 3rd season. So 5 years almost now.
Ah, that's exciting. Okay, so I feel like I know on my end, I always get like some basic questions like that pretty much everyone has. So let's start off. So what's 1 or 2 questions you always get from couples or seem to like those the big hitters?
So first of all, people always apologize and say they don't know anything about flowers, and that's okay. That's totally normal. So don't worry about that. And I would just usually say to people to just, if you just tell me your colors and like a couple of your, even if you have one favorite flower, if you have none, that's fine. But, we just base a lot off the colors and sort of the style of the wedding. And also a lot of people ask me, if we use in-season flowers, will it be cheaper? And the short answer is no, because we get so many of our flowers from out of the country, and especially because our growing season is so short here that we get most of our flowers from South America. So it really doesn't affect the cost at all about the season. So yeah, and it's really hard to sort of like predict what the cost of flowers are. So we usually just do like an estimate. And then, so yeah, we also get a lot of flowers from California and Oregon in the summer, but they're not cheaper. So in most cases, they're more expensive because they're grown on small family farms. So it's just something to kind of think about, that really you don't have to limit yourself with what's in season, because we can pretty much get anything from around the world. And I just like to sort of mention that, these aren't Safeway flowers. These are specialty flowers usually that are lovingly grown all over the world. And, you're not just paying for the flower, you're paying for my time to come up with a color story for you guys, my time to select the flowers, order them, prep them, clean them, design them, bring them right to you, and all of my years of experience doing that. So
yeah, and I like, guys, if you are listening, we still have, we've got about half a dozen people on. Don't be afraid to comment, ask questions, say hi. We love hearing from you guys and hearing your feedback. But I wanted to say, guys, I've worked with Nicole, shoot a bomb. Like, she creates these amazing things. Kirby, if you're watching, even if you're watching the replay, like, Kirby can tell you she does beautiful flowering. And I mean, I've worked with so many couples that have worked with Nicole, and it's always unique, always tailored to them, always just beautiful and above and beyond. And it's totally worth it. Florals really add something to the day. So yeah. So going back to the first question about like couples not knowing, like, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah.
So do you recommend like them sending you a Pinterest board, or like tell me how they can give you what they like? And like,
Yeah.
obviously they don't need to be specific, but
Yeah.
would a Pinterest board help?
Well, Pinterest is ideal for sure, but some people don't use Pinterest.
Right.
So if you don't use Pinterest, then just like Google search, maybe the first thing you'd want to know is like what your colors are and what your style is. Like, are you classic, glam, boho, Pacific Northwest, whatever? And then you can kind of like just Google those things like purple boho wedding or whatever into Google and flowers, and then you'll start to see all these things and you'll be like, ooh, that looks good. And then you'll save them. And then, yeah, I really only need like maybe 1 or 2 photos of bouquets you like and 1 or 2 photos of like the ceremony that you like. And then I can see a world from those photos of what your style is. It's a lot easier than trying to describe it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I feel that with photos, because like, if you have this idea for a location, like I have all these ideas that come up, and it makes sense that you would see a photo or two and this whole world would come up in front of your eyes.
Mhm.
And yeah, I love it.
Pinterest is great for that, because if you like one photo, it'll show you a bunch of other photos like the one you're looking at. So
Right.
that's ideal. Yeah.
I love it. So I know people, like some people are worried about cost, some people aren't. What is like a typical cost for florals, or a range? Like, what can you expect for, $250? Like, let's just throw a number out there. Like, what could you get for that as far as bouquet, boutonniere? Would there be any extras, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So 250 is actually our minimum. And so that's usually the standard for an elopement. That's just a bouquet. And I can do, for the 250, I can do a bouquet, a crown, and a boutonniere. And so that's usually, and like, so that's our minimum. But if you're gonna do like a full order, a bridal bouquet would be like around $100 to $200. And if you're going to do like a full wedding, ours generally go from 1,000 to 3,000. And but most of our events are smaller events on the coast, 10 to 20 guests, and those tend to run around 1,000.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And we'll get to this later, but I know people are probably now saying like, oh man, like those are florals. Like, how long are they going to last? That sort of thing. Guys, we will get there. Like, Nicole and I have already talked about this. She's going to tell you how to preserve that stuff. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited too, because now when I get flowers for styled shoots, I'm going to be like, save them a little bit. Okay. So next question. So, oh man, there's so many, I don't even know where to start. So what do you wish couples knew about florals, and like having them incorporated into your day? Is there anything you really wish they knew, or like something that you find that a lot of people don't know? Yeah, just, it's kind of a free question.
1 second, my dog, stop it. Dogs are scratching at the outside. So let's see, something I wish people knew. I guess I would say that we sort of already covered this, but that you don't need to know anything about flowers. Like that, just everyone, everyone has their specialty, and that's okay. And I'm here to sort of to walk you through all that. And I'm your flower guide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This kind of goes with it. And it's kind of like a 2-part question. How can couples think outside the box and make their use of florals unique? How can they make their day unique with florals? Any examples?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this question before, and I would love it if people would think about sort of the setting that they're going to get married in, and how to incorporate the natural elements that are all around them in the florals. And I mean, this is why you guys are, coming here to elope in this beautiful setting, right? I mean, otherwise people would just go to a church or a venue or whatever. So they're coming here to to, appreciate the natural beauty of the Oregon coast. And so I wish that, people would maybe think about the site and, like cover a tree in flowers or hang flowers from tree branches, like on fishing line.
That deconstructed thing is that's going to be apparently this year's thing. I'm excited for it.
I'm hoping someone asked me to do that. And then also, like, a lot of the time people get married near cliffs and stuff. So I could like build something sort of like up a cliff a little bit. We use chicken wire now as like, that's a big thing in floral design. So we sort of create a shape out of chicken wire. So it's like actual art, it can be any shape you want it to be. And then we fill it with flowers.
Hug Point, Arcadia Beach. Can we do this?
Yes.
That's the thing.
Well, at Hug Point, there's an old tree there that is dead, and I'm like dying to cover it in flowers. So.
Guys, you hear this? Yes. Cool.
And then, tree, cliff, hanging flowers. We even did, for a styled shoot, we built a teepee sort of shape out of driftwood, just that we found on the beach. And then we just covered this driftwood teepee in flowers. And it was so unique, I mean, that's the kind of stuff I think that we love to do. And it's going to be so unique. And, people don't even think to ask for that because they don't know it's possible. So those are sort of the big installations, we call them, for ceremonies. But another thing I was thinking about that's unique, and this is to sort of bring in the guys in here. A lot of people say to me, I don't want like a traditional rose boutonniere, we've seen that a million times. And so a lot of us are doing sort of it's almost like a tiny little bouquet of like wildflowers or dried items, or I've seen people tucking the flowers into the pocket square, or little wreaths, like little greenery wreaths tucked onto the suit. So I think there's a lot of ideas and options, and the guys don't just have to be like boring old rose on the lapel anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so following that up, so you were talking about trees and deconstructed things. Is there anything that you would love to create that you haven't mentioned, or that would be so cool? And something that I always feel like couples don't realize is that it doesn't have to just be florals. So like pampas grass texture, that sort of thing. Just kind of expound on anything else that you might love to create or feel like is possible that people don't realize.
Well, besides the tree, because that's on my list.
Right. Yeah.
But so the new trend now that we are loving is sort of this look that it looks like it's just growing from the ground. So there's no arbor or any sort of instrument or anything. It's literally just the flowers and the beach or the earth or whatever. And we can use a lot of things that are collected from the local forest here, so that can be a little more sustainable if you're concerned about that. So I love this look of having things just come straight up from the ground. If you look on Pinterest, it's like all over there, and I don't think couples really know about it as much yet. But I mean, my favorite thing is to do the crescent shape, the crescent moon shape, and it can be done so many different ways. It can be crescent moon shape, full circle, like we did. We can do it on either side, and it's just this really natural but modern look that is really beautiful. And it can be lower in cost too, because you don't have to rent any like whatever for it. Right. And then we can collect a lot of the stuff just from the forest around here. So if you like that sort of rustic, wild look, then especially in Pacific Northwest too, if that's right, Pacific Northwest as you're gonna get. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, going on to that, so I mentioned pampas grass and stuff, but are there any other texture things that you can include? I mean, just like throw things out, whether it's like the lotus pods or just things that aren't florally that people might love as an addition and a cool eye-catching piece.
Well, I'd love to do like mossy branches. No one ever, brings that up, but I love the mossy branches around here, and the ferns, and there's lots of thistles and things growing around in the autumn time when things are drying out. And there's just a ton of stuff just like growing on the forest floor, like salal and like huckleberries and like super rustic stuff like that. And if you take those elements and then you mix them with beautiful flowers, it's like perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's stunning.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited about that. I feel like just I need to collab, like get you into a styled shoot,
Totally.
an inspiration shoot, and we'll just like go.
Yeah. So I had
Okay.
another thing actually that I wish or that I want to do, and it's sort of it's a new trend. And it's called monochromatic design.
Yes,
right?
we were talking about this. Yeah.
So it's basically taking one color and making the whole bouquet out of that color. So say you take, you know, blush, and you take all the blush flowers that I can find and put them in the center, and then I paint like with spray paint the greens and the ferns or whatever that are sticking out of the bouquet. So you can spray paint those different variations of blush, and then it's just this like subtle color changes, but mostly one big, and it's so bold and so unusual. So
but it's still multi-dimensional too.
Yeah.
Because the different color blushes.
There's
Yeah.
different shades usually, but it's usually one color.
Right.
It's just something super unique, and it's like a very new trend. Like it's a 2020 trend. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for something that like all your friends that got married before haven't done, I think that's
it.
Yeah.
Also, what was the other one that I shared? The necklace.
Yeah,
the necklace.
Floral jewelry. Yeah, that's huge. And I've seen the cuffs too. Like a cuff could be done for like maybe a more modern corsage alternate.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like hair pieces like combs are really big right now. So the crowns are not as being as requested, and people want these floral combs, which I love doing. And yeah, and you can put like anything on them. You can put succulents or thistle or
all sorts of good stuff. I want to say something because it's been brought up recently. So some of my couples and some couples are a little bit more private. Some are like, I see these weddings featured in June bug weddings or green wedding shoes or wandering weddings or whatever. And they're like, I always tell my couples, like, I'm going to submit if I feel like it's a good option, because I want other couples to be as inspired as you are.
Yeah.
I will tell people that, and Nicole, you can back me up, it's the more unique and the more outside of the box your wedding is,
totally.
The better chance you have of being featured. So there's a lot of things that that are out of my control. A lot of people feel like it's just the photography or something. It's the amount of vendors you have. And then if you have like a statement piece, like if you did cuffs, that automatically ups your chances of having your wedding featured somewhere. Because like a bouquet and a boutonniere, people have seen it. Even flower crowns, like they're beautiful, but if you want something really unique and you like are thinking, oh, bonus, like somebody might feature it somewhere and I could like share and be like a little bit of famous.
Totally.
I mean, it's cool.
If you don't know what the trends are or whatever, like just ask us, you know, like we're always looking at what's out there. So we're like a wealth of knowledge on that sort of stuff, like what's coming new, you know, and stuff like that. Cause I'm always researching. Yeah.
Same.
I'm always on Pinterest.
I'm always doing that. I'm always like keeping an eye out for what the more like the more trendy sort of things are. And that can be, a lot of it is florals, because florals are such like a staple for a lot of people. That can be like a different colored dress, something, but like the more unique your wedding or your elopement is, the more likely it is to be featured. So, like cuffs, like think outside the box. You don't have to have a bouquet if you don't want to. Use that to make like a necklace or cuffs or something. I think that would be so cool. Okay. So speaking of that, I want to get through the last couple of questions here, and then I'll dive into the questions that people have posted. So the question, do you know how to preserve bouquets? How do you do that? Tell us everything.
This is a complicated answer that I don't know how to preserve bouquets. I've had a few of my brides do it and they sent me pictures and it's really cool, but it is a big bulky thing that's going to be in your house because it comes in like a 3D frame that goes on your wall. So if you have, if you don't have a small house or something, maybe you don't want to keep that forever. But what I do suggest to people is that if you mention this to your florist when you're at the beginning and you're still picking what's going to be in there, tell them you want something as like a sentimental thing to keep from your bouquet. And there's so many options. Like we can do, and this, my favorite thing is either an air plant or a live succulent, because you can take the succulent out of your bouquet and plant it and grow it in your home for like years to come. So they think that's really cool. And then the other thing is, preserved and dried items are like huge right now. So if you say you want to get a few preserved and dried items, and then you can like take them out of your bouquet after your wedding and you can like put them in a little vase in your home and have them for like years to come too. So I think those are two really good ways, like more modern ways to keep a memento from your wedding flowers.
Yeah, that's really cool. And like, I didn't realize when everybody says preserve your flowers, I always think like, do you have to put them in like a drying agent and then like just keep them as a bouquet, or is preserving actually putting them like in a 3D resin?
Bouquet. Like people send the whole bouquet off to these companies that do it. Yeah.
Put it in like 3D resin instead of just like, I always imagine preserving like drying them out and then keeping them in a vase or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's just interesting. I
not
learned something.
Look the same though is the thing. Like once they dry, their colors change. They get all like creased and stuff. So it's never gonna look the same. So I would suggest like lots of pictures of your bouquet for one thing, because a lot of people don't. Maybe they're focusing on all the stuff that's going on, and sometimes photographers don't get a close-up shot of the bouquet. So you might want to ask your photographer for that. And then also, the dried, preserve, and live items. Like I even had a client who had 6 bridesmaids, and she got all of her bridesmaids got a live succulent in their bouquet, and then they got to take that home and plant it as like a favor or whatever too. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And I like in my wedding timeline questionnaire that I send all my couples, I say like, what photos are you looking forward to the most? Like if you were just to have one photo during your day, what would it be? It just allows me to prioritize. And then if you put in there, like if you're one of my couples, like put in there, like we'd love to have at least a photo or two of our florals. And I always try to get that because I send as a courtesy galleries to my vendors because dude, photos are important.
Yeah.
Photos are important for like sharing your work and stuff.
Oh, so, yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. So next question. What do you love about like the elopement couples that you design for? What aspects about elopements do you love? Have there been any favorite things that you've done for elopement couples?
So I would say my favorite thing is that my couples are so adventurous, because a lot of them come from out of state or out of the country even, and come here specifically to get married on the Oregon coast. And, I think they're just looking for something different and untraditional. Some of them have a sentimental attachment to the Oregon, like maybe they met here, had a great vacation, got engaged here. And they, maybe they just love and appreciate the natural beauty of the Oregon coast. And like, we have that in common. And that's what I love about them, is that we already share something, because we see like what is so magical about this place, and like we can sort of like bond over that and get excited about it. And I think that's really special, because I definitely do travel to other places too. I meant to mention that earlier, that I do the whole Oregon coast, but I also do wine country in Portland and that stuff too. But there's just something, like I moved here from across the country because I fell in love with this place. And I think that people that come here, we share that, and that's just something kind of special about the people that I meet through this work. And my favorite aspect of my elopements is being on site, of course. I just love combining the like natural elements of my flowers with the like beauty of the coast and all like the ocean and the sand and the trees and everything like comes together. And you know, after I design everything I'm doing, I usually like step back and like just take a breath, and like I'm so grateful for like to be able to do this work. And you know, it's just really really special. So
yeah. I always feel like you were talking about, you know, you have that connection to the coast, and you the incorporating all the nature around you and stuff. Bouquets and boutonnieres are great, but like if I could see a formation over the rocks as the tide comes in, so like the floral's just getting like teased by the waves and stuff, it just like kind of incorporates everything at once, and it's kind of a more natural, organic, like the flowers growing out of the water onto the rock. I think that's so cool. So
for sure. I mean, we could even take like, there's so many rocky cliffs around here too. So something could be built like up with the chicken wire, like up the side of a cliff or whatever. And
could you do like cascading stuff? Almost like vines kind of?
Yeah.
So
totally.
Do you know? I have this vision in my head.
Like greenery, you mean? Like
like the cascading greenery, or like maybe put some flowers in it. So very okay. This is
it's all
my inner Disney gal is coming out. So like Entangled, where they go through like the vines through the tunnel, like to get to Mother Gothel's like house or tower or whatever. Like that sort of hanging stuff. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
It's all possible. Cool. Okay, so let's move to, I want to save your personal story for last. Okay, so I'm pulling up some questions. So Linda, you answered a little bit of this, but I definitely want to reiterate. So my question is, if I should order flower arrangements from my hometown or from the city I'm eloping to. I'm not traveling far. I'm from Southern California going to Central California, so it's about 5 hours. I'd be arriving about 2 days before the wedding. I wish I could just order everything from my hometown and haul it to Big Sur. I'm not sure if flowers would be fresh for 2 days. So maybe talk about the freshness of flowers, and like when is the cutting off point where you should just go local, or what?
Right. So temperature is huge. When I worked on the East Coast, it would be like 100 degrees sometimes, and like flowers are dead in like a half day. So we're lucky on the Oregon coast that it's usually cooler here. So I would say under 75 degrees outside, you're good. Like you're good for like 3 days probably, as long as the flowers are in water. So you got to make sure to ask your florist to give it to you in a vase with water. So yeah, she would definitely be okay to bring flowers from her hometown as long as they're in water, and as long as it's under 75 degrees out. If it's over 75, I would say put the air conditioning on in your car. And yeah, and then if you get to your destination, and the flowers are going to be fine as long as you have a cool place in the house to leave them, like a garage or something like where it's a little cooler and there's no heat, like artificial heat.
So don't leave them in the house. Like even if the house is 70 degrees, like try to leave it in a cooler place.
Yeah. The garage or outside if it's cooler, for sure. But yeah, the flowers are really, as long as it's not too hot and they have water, they're pretty like tolerant. Like I'll leave flowers in my studio for like a week and come back and they're fine. Like
gotcha.
They're pretty sturdy actually. So
gotcha.
I've had a few people say like, oh, I live in San Francisco and like there's so many good florists here, I wish I could use them, but I'm like traveling or whatever. And I'm like, no, like you can use them. Like if you're driving and you know it's not that hot out, you can totally get the bouquet of your dreams from like your hometown, for sure.
Yeah. It's something to just keep in mind, is like you have to weigh that with the stress of like if you're driving and you're going like around curves and stuff, the flowers, I mean, I even take them from my local floral designer to the South Coast for couples if I'm able to, and they like I buckle them in and they're all safe and cozy, but
I usually give people a constant
thing. It's like a constant thing that I'm like, okay, how are the flowers doing?
That's
okay,
true.
how are the flowers doing?
And if you're getting married, you might not want to worry about that. Like you might be got other things on your mind. So you're right. It's best to like weigh your options. But sometimes people are traveling, you know, to a park or something where there is no florist. So,
right. Yeah. So definitely something to keep in mind. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna pull up another question. So Raisa, This is such great timing. I'm looking into flowers right now for my Oregon Coast wedding. I'm having a family style dinner for my intimate reception, but I don't want like a plain dinner table. Any recommendations for flower arrangements that are pretty but leave room for platters? Also, is it important to know the types of flowers you want? So we kind of covered that last bit a little earlier, but so another option for florals and stuff, how do you incorporate that? Can you incorporate that with tables and stuff?
Well, yeah, of course. So the first thing I ask is it a long table or is it a round table? Because that's going to change the design for sure. It sounds like she's probably doing a long table, like where everyone sits together.
Family style.
And my favorite design for that is bud vases. So it's like lots of little glass vases that only have room for like a few flower stems to stick out the top, and then you like run them all down the center. Usually have like a nice table runner first, and then you lay all the bud vases, and then you can do like just single stems coming up, and you can really see like the beauty of like each flower bud, I think. And it's also a pretty low cost option too, because it's not a ton of flowers,
right?
So that's always like my first thing to recommend to people. The other thing is garlands. You can do like a full like thick greenery garland of like eucalyptus or ferns or something like that.
I was gonna say, can I be extra and have just a table runner full?
Yeah. So garlands are definitely a great option, though something I'll mention is that a lot of people think that a garland is a cost saving thing, and it's not. It's not cheaper than having a traditional arrangement, because garlands are very labor intensive. So I generally charge $10 a foot for those. So
okay, good to know. Good to know. Is that on top of the cost of florals?
No, that's okay. No, so yeah, $10 a foot for greenery, and then
okay.
it's like a couple dollars extra a foot for flowers.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Yeah. All right. So Sydney has a great question, and I think both of us will be able to tag team this one. My question is about arbors and other floral ceremony decor. Are there restrictions on what we can and can't bring into certain locations? Can you still have these things if you're planning on eloping in a remote location or a national park? Any rules we should know about?
Well, I don't know about national parks, so I'll give that one to you, because we only have one in Oregon and I've never done a wedding there. But I know about the beaches. And so if you're just going for like just a bouquet and your family and friends or whatever, you're good. You don't need to tell anyone you're coming. You can just go and do it. But if you're going to set up anything on the beach, you need a permit.
And chairs, arbor, anything. Yeah.
Anything. Then you're going to contact the county that beach is in, and you'll get a permit from them, and it's like $25 or something usually. Yeah. It's nothing crazy. So
yeah, and it's if you're having over 50 people, you also need to contact state parks or something else to potentially get like a $50 or $100 permit. Depends. Something else I should mention with the beaches, in my experience with my couples and permitting, it's if you're having something that requires a permit, they actually don't issue permits May to September. If it's like a lesser known beach, I have seen the permit people go, just like clean up after yourself and don't dilly dally for like the entire day. People are pretty chill, but like just keep in mind that if you want to do a popular place like Cannon Beach, May through September, like you're gonna need a permit, and in May, September, they really don't like to issue those. So keep that in mind with stuff. If you don't need a permit, then it's a totally different story. Get married, whatever. But the bigger things, you're going to definitely need a permit. And May to September, because of the population and the popularity of the coast in that time, a little bit different. Okay, so for national parks, this is a little bit different. So you can bring things in. I personally, based on the no trace principles, would bring in things that are more organic, natural to the area, native, that sort of thing. I also think it adds a little something to where you're getting married. Like, why bring in a ton of roses when they don't naturally grow there? And so there's also, if you're not careful with those florals, they can leave seeds or pollen or whatever, and that can cause an invasive issue. It really isn't bad if they're cut. Like the rules aren't super strict. But it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And every park is different. So you might have to call and be like, hey, can we set up an arbor? A lot of the parks don't allow like amplified music or arbors or anything like that.
Think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want my dog in there, so.
Right, yeah. They don't like Crater Lake, for instance. They don't allow amplified music. They don't allow arbors or any sort of structures or chairs or anything like that, because they want to preserve the integrity of the area. And then if you're hiking into like a remote location, like a backcountry, I wouldn't want to take an arbor with me. Like I'm a great Sherpa, but like there's a line. Yeah. So I think if you bring in things like Nicole was saying, like the beautiful things that grow, like that looks like they're growing out of the ground, or something with chicken wire, or something that's not as structured on its own, it's a little bit different story, because it can just be easily picked up and kind of moved, or like a floral, like a flower circle, that sort of thing. So national parks, it's a little different. It's a little bit more strict. But you can still incorporate beautiful ways. I mean, that's where you can use the necklaces, the cups, the oh gosh,
flower hats or something I've done, like a beautiful boho hat, and then we put flowers like all around there. That's something super unique too.
Can you put them in dress like trains, like little? Can
like
you
in
do
a dress
that?
train?
Yeah, or so. I'm just curious. I'm like brainstorming.
I don't know. I've never done it. I've never been asked. But people make dresses out of flowers, but that's incredibly expensive.
Right. Well, I mean, like just like a few, so it kind of looks like it's just on the bottom of the train, so it kind of looks like it's flying up.
It's all possible.
We'll have to. Yeah, there are way more ideas now that I'm like, okay, we gotta get
together.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if there are any other questions on here. Going in and double checking. Cool. So I think that's it for the questions live. I mean, guys, always put questions down if you're watching the replay, or if you're watching live right now and you have questions. I wanted to go over one last thing. So Nicole, tell us your story about what you did for your wedding, why you did what you did, and just kind of fill people in about that.
Yes, because I did kind of elope, sort of. It was a big elopement. We had 40 guests, but
so an intimate wedding.
So we did kind of do a lot of what you guys do here, but so I met my husband in Costa Rica. He's American, but we met there, and so we felt it's the same thing. A lot of people come back to Oregon because it's sentimental to them. So we went back to our beach town in Costa Rica that we met at, and we weren't going to do that at first. We looked into some traditional wedding venues in Cape Cod and Vermont and all this stuff, and I was blown away by the venue costs. So the venue costs and the food costs, like that's where you're gonna get a lot of your money spent. So we decided to go down to Costa Rica and get married down there, and because we were feeling a lot of the stress of the family, and I think a lot of people are going to feel that too, that like your family has an idea of how your wedding should be, and everyone has like their input or whatever, and then the other thing is that the invite list, right? Like, I mean, my husband's family is huge, and it's like you either have to invite all of them or none of them. Yeah. So we went with none of them.
You go.
So that way no one could be mad at us. So we just invited our close friends and like parents and stuff, and we got we spent 5 days at the beach together in Costa Rica with all my closest friends and family. And I have some clients doing that same thing too. They're like, we just want to have like a beach vacation with like all of our favorite people. And if you do it like a destination like this, then you can take that money that you were going to spend on that big venue and all that food, and you can like have like a multi-day fun time with all your close friends and family. And that was like the favorite thing about my wedding, was that it wasn't over in 24 hours. Like we all spent days together, like, and it was like the best time of my life. Like if I could go back and relive those days, that would be like the best, because it's all your favorite people in one place together. Like when are you going to get that again? Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of writing and finishing up Elope Your Life, the book. And I'm really excited. I've got some designs in the works and all sorts of stuff, but I have been writing more and reflecting more on eloping being a transformative experience.
Yeah.
Have there been any moments, and it's silly and not exactly the same thing, but like when mothers have like children in danger or something, like there's this superhuman strength. You don't know what strength
Right.
you have until you're put in a situation where you need to use it. Were there any experiences like that with continuing and sticking with your guns about having this destination Costa Rican intimate wedding? Has it made you a stronger person? Has it made you a better person in other aspects of your life where you can be like confidently going, no, I'm at my limit, I'm going to say no to certain things, or like I'm going to try certain things because what's the worst that can happen, sort of thing?
Yeah. I guess I mean it definitely makes you feel like um that you like we did a party when we got back, and it was like this vision of like what my wedding could have been, and it was like not me at all. And I just felt like you should take like like who you are and make it into your wedding, not what society expects or your parents or whatever. Like you're going to regret it if you don't do what you want to do. So I think sort of just that self-confidence, and like being sort of firm, and you'll know like you're not going to regret that decision. Like you're not going to regret doing what you want. You're going to regret not doing what you want, right? So I think it's just yeah, I think it's a good learning. I mean, and planning your wedding is so stressful. Like I never thought it would be stressful until I was there, and I mean there were tears.
There were
Like
tears.
tough,
It's awful.
yeah. And just like it's a lot of pressure. And so I guess it's just kind of, there's a lot of things to think about, but like just do what you want and you won't have regrets, I guess is what I took from it. I mean, what I got from doing what I wanted and what my husband wanted was the best days of my life. Like, and you know, those pictures that we got from our wedding, like they're amazing. They're just like hanging on my wall. And every time I walk by them, I'm just like, oh, like I remember how fun that was. Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love hearing from people because everyone kind of has a different transformation with their story, and like that helps other people, and it's crazy. And I tell people this: you being yourself and doing what you want to do
Yeah.
is like such an easy way to inspire other people to do the same thing. It's so crazy. Like I have people coming to me going, that location, and because that couple was like awesome and did this, I want to do that.
Nice.
And like that's cool.
Yeah.
And I love that. And
Yeah.
the easiest way to inspire people and be a force for good is like doing something that speaks to you.
Yeah.
And you know, I wasn't brave enough. I had like no support to help to help me do that. And that's I had a traditional wedding and it sucked. So yeah.
I read your story and it made me sad because I felt like I like dodged a bullet there, because my mother-in-law planned this party when we got back and it was like red roses and baby's breath, and I was like, so
yeah, like if that's your thing, cool, but if
yeah,
not, that's
not
okay
my
too.
thing. Not my thing. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're not gonna regret doing what you want. There's just no way, you know, the chances of that, like.
Yeah, and if you regret it, I bet you more than anything, it's outside forces trying to make you think that you regret it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's finish up. Is there anything else that you wish people would know about florals or just eloping in general, or kind of both? Anything that you feel like you'd want to say? I know they're like photographer things.
Yeah.
And so anything, you're free to just kind of.
I don't know. I mean, I guess just communicate. Like, don't be afraid to like ask questions and communicate with your vendors, because we're like super flexible. Like I like if someone is like, look, I have 10 bridesmaids, but I don't want to spend $1,000 on bouquets for them all. Like, what can I do to get, you know, just ask me and I am full of ideas, you know, like there are lots, you don't have to get a full bouquet for every bridesmaid if you don't want to spend that much. Like there are lots of options, like a single flower or like, you know. anyway,
there's
so many
options.
So just, you know, if you're like concerned about something, just communicate with us. Like
Uh-huh.
we are here and we like most of the time know the answer to this problem that you're having, you know?
Yeah.
And I, you know, I feel like sometimes maybe like we lose clients because they don't know to ask the right questions, you know, or I mean, there are no right or wrong questions, but like, just don't hold back. Like you can ask us anything and we can be like, yes, that can be done, or no, that can be done, can't be done. But if you don't ask, then you'll never know. And like what could have been, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ask questions. I'm always about communicating. So, I mean, and we communicate, like the vendors communicate too. So and the more you communicate, the more everyone's going to have a better idea and a better handle on what you want for your day. And we don't, we are in this business. I feel like, speaking for myself, I am in this because I want people to not have the day that I did and not feel like I did on my wedding day. And why would I purposefully make that day not as great? Because you know what I mean? Like, why would I purposely say no to something that's totally doable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you just don't know what the answer is. Maybe like, you know, people are like, oh, well, I want to get married on the beach, but like I'm afraid of the rain or something, you know, like
Right.
just say that. And like, you know, I have a wedding coming up this summer and the wind is a problem, big problem here.
Mm-hmm.
So we've come up with a design for her, but like they're upright. So, you know, I just told her, like, she's like, I don't know about the wind and all that. And I said, you know what? We're going to come up with a plan B for you if it's super windy, and this is what our plan B is going to be, you know, or like if it's going to rain, like I would definitely suggest having a plan B for rain.
Yeah. I have an elopement this Monday, and I haven't checked the weather in the last 24 hours, but like there's a likelihood that it's going to rain. And you can either, like in the South Coast, there's not really a ton of plan B options because everything is totally exposed, but like go with it. If you're okay with that, go with it, or like plan where statistically the rain is not going to happen like during the year. There are different ways, and that's what your vendors are there for. Your vendors are there to help you.
Yeah.
So let's wrap this up. I want to make sure people have your information because you like clearly you are awesome. So I have you tagged. You Pacific Coast Floral Design, guys. She's tagged. And then where are you based out of? But where do you travel to?
Okay, so we're in Pacific City on the Oregon coast. It's sort of like the North Central. And we will travel pretty much anywhere in Oregon and Northern California and Southern Washington. And what was the other question? Oh yeah, where to contact me, right? So yeah, the website, the link to my website's there, I'm sure, pacificcoastfloraldesign.com. And follow me on Instagram at Pacific Coast Floral Design. There's lots of inspiration on there too.
Yes, there is. Yeah. And she's amazing. I will recommend Nicole to anybody in the Oregon area. She's just fantastic. So thanks, Nicole.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. That's so much good information. I love it.
It wasn't like a job interview.
Oh, good. That's good. Cool. Well, I am going to sign us off of live anyway. Remember, guys, ask questions down in the comments. Nicole and I can answer them.
Yeah, I can message people afterwards if you ask on Facebook. I'll write you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I adore you all, and we will see you next time. Bye.